Welcome to the Still Small Voice. My name is Dr. Meridel Rawlings, and I'm greeting you from my garden right here on the outskirts of Jerusalem. And we're going to spend the next few minutes together. Just some thoughts that might encourage you as you go about your day today. Yes, we're all too busy. Yes, we're all pressured. Yes, we all feel stress. But what am I talking about, this still small voice? Where did that concept come from? Well, actually, it came from the Bible. It came from the historical book of 1 Kings, chapter 19 and verse 12. And there you read about this radical Hebrew prophet named Elijah, who was turning the kingdom of Israel on its ear, so to speak, because it had confronted the king and the queen, Ahab and Jezebel, and had, through his prayers, proved that the God of Israel was the true God, and also that 3.5 years of drought were just wiped away with a glorious thunderstorm. Now, okay, so what, you say? Well, this was a man, you know, that got a lot of attention. I mean, he had to run and hide for his life. He was very charismatic. People listened when he spoke. He was very prophetic. You know, like many, many leaders in the world today, we love to follow these kind of people. But you know, God invited him to come down to the desert after he had done his big campaign of wowing the crowds on Mount Carmel. And he went down to the desert, and he was in the mouth of a cave, and the wind roared around him, and the rocks fell down from the mountains, and a fire broke out, and God was not there. But then the Bible says there came a still small voice. And it says that God was in the still small voice. And another interpretation or translation would be the gentle, soft whisper. Now, I'm sure that if I asked my viewers today how many of you have ever heard this still small voice, hands would go up all over the world. Of course you have. But how is that possible, you say? I'm not Jewish. I'm not even a Christian. I'm just a person. I really am not big on religion at all. Well, this is good news for you to start your day. The still small voice actually comes to us through the Spirit of the living God, the Ruach HaKodesh in Hebrew. And just as the breeze around me in the garden is moving the leaves of the tree, so the Spirit of God moves into our thought life. He moves into with the thoughts come the emotions, and with the emotions come desires, or with emotions comes very negative, not only desires maybe to hurt someone, but also to be bitter or to be lonely or whatever. But the still small voice can make all the difference in your life, and I'm inviting you to sit with me and learn how to listen. You know, the first tenet of Judaism is Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, which means, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Well, what's that got to do with me? Well, the first word is hear, and to hear, you have to listen. But you listen in the inner ear. It's not physical words that are being spoken. These are words that are being spoken to you and literally implanted into your spirit. And they will come to you in your own language, whatever dialect you speak. It doesn't make a speck of difference. You will hear this voice. Now this voice, if your heart and your mind are open, will speak to you about the most amazing, intricate, private areas of your life. And you'll say, wow, where did that come from? Now, there's lots of people that hear lots of voices, and I am working with people who are on drugs and working with psychiatrists because they're hearing voices. No, it's not like that. The still small voice is just like the breeze, as I said, moving the leaves on the tree, but it speaks truth, it speaks wisdom, it speaks encouragement, it speaks understanding. If you've lost something, it will even tell you where to go and find it. If you're having problems with a relationship, this precious voice will speak to you, and you will have a very creative idea of how to begin to bring some kind of a change if there is an impasse. Can you imagine what this means in our lives today when really the most important things we have are relationships? And so I'm encouraging you to listen for the still small voice. I write a newsletter and a thank you letter by that title. And if you'd be interested in getting that letter, I invite you to come to my website, www.stillsmallvoice.tv. But okay, I've been talking about the Jewish side of things. Let's talk about something Jesus said in Mark 12, chapter 30. And I'll just read it very briefly because we don't want to get religious here, but we want to be life-giving. This is what Jesus said when he lived here in Israel. He said, "The first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel," I gave that to you already, "the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Now, and you, beloved viewer, shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength." This is the first commandment. Now, the challenge is you can't hear unless you invite the still small voice to come into the center of your being and you give him the rights to speak to you. You see, we can go into some details in some of my other still small voice segments, but God does not overrule your sense of will. He wants you to choose to hear. He wants you to choose to listen. And I'm going to challenge you right now to be still at the end of this program and dare to send up a little request. You know, prayer is like a thought. And say, I would like to hear this voice. And when you hear it, I want you to write down what is said. Never will it be destructive to your life. Never will it be a negative word. It will always be an instruction to build you up, to give you direction, and to bring you hope. Well, that's enough for now. But there's your challenge. I invite you to listen to the still small voice. Meet me on my website, www.stillsmallvoice.tv. Shalom for now.